Record. Okay, we are live. So, hey, welcome to another episode of Path, the Two Mastery podcast. Today, I've got the special honor of being with Glenn Sanford. Glenn, how's it going, man?
Awesome, David. Yeah, it's been other than being in Washington State, we've been sheltered at home a lot more than some other states. So from that perspective, it's gonna be nice when we can kind of get out from under lockdown. But other than that, just cranking away. Every day is kind of been like it has been for the last 10 years, working from home, just cranking and growing.
Yeah, absolutely. Same situation, man. I'm over here in Massachusetts, and we've been in the house for, geez, I think we're going on about 3 months now. So it's been interesting, and it's certainly changed the way that I looked at real estate and working virtually, and I'm guessing that's happened for a lot of agents, right? Is that what you're seeing?
Yeah, ironically, even some agents that were with EXP already, they hadn't really sort of understood a lot of the tools that we had in place that just made life better when you're working
Mm,
remote. And we're just chatting with someone earlier today, and you know, because of the pandemic, they're going, I didn't realize how powerful like having my own office in EXP world could be. And he's going, now I'm expanding to multiple states, and we're all, now we're working together, and I feel like I've got a more scalable business than I've ever had before.
yeah, absolutely. Well, before I go any further, I just want to congratulate you as well, and it's a pleasure to meet you. And I appreciate Devin Doherty, setting us up. And Devin speaks really highly of you, and your success is tremendous. And I'm glad that I recently was able to partner with you. I was at my past company for 17 and a half years.
Yeah.
And very, very involved and great company. But to me, this is just the next evolution. So that said, I know you have a partnership with VirBELA right now, and talk to us about that. Like, does that change the way EXP looked before? Is there some exciting things you want to talk about going forward?
Yeah, well, we bought VirBELA back in 2018 as a company. We
Okay.
were the single largest company, or single. Well, we were over 50% of VirBELA's revenue back in 2018, and it really kind of enabled us to really build an entirely remote, um, you know, organization and still feel socially connected. So that's really the magic of the VirBELA platform, is it allows you to be 100% remote if you choose to. Of course, there
Mhm.
there there are some agents and teams that did lease some bricks and mortar, or they owned a building, or what have you. But it allows you to effectively create the analog for physical space in a virtual way, and so you're able to have conversations, water cooler conversations, serendipitous meetups, and then of course we've got offices and training centers and auditoriums and all a bunch of other trappings, including like the soccer field and speedboats for a
Hmm.
little bit more kind of out of the norm, um, uh, you know, work activities.
Interesting. So like, because right now, obviously, almost everybody on the planet's getting used to working virtually in some capacity, right?
Right. hmm
Why is this different than like working on, like, say, Zoom or one of those other platforms?
Yeah, well, it's a huge difference. I mean, obviously we're recording this using Zoom,
Mm,
and Zoom's great for like these one-on-one conversations that's by appointment, and you've got a scheduled time, or potentially even a group of people getting together to just sort of maybe mastermind or what have you. But it's not a great place to have you know the creative conversations that happen from just spontaneous conversations that would normally take place in the real world. And so for us, there are a couple things. One, we looked at a bunch of platforms back in 2009, including some GoToMeeting, GoToWebinar, Skype. Zoom wasn't as big back then. Of course, now it's
mm,
really big. But
yeah.
all of these platforms are pretty much the same as they were back then, which is that you have to pay way too much attention to the camera in front of you. You're not really paying as much attention to the person speaking. It's hard to multitask in any sort of meaningful way. even though, a lot of people say you shouldn't multitask. Well, when you're in these conversations with multiple people, you want to be able to look at your notes, and you want to be able to sort of make some notes. And at the same time, you want to feel like you're paying, people feel like you're paying attention. And if you're like looking down, you're doing this, they have no clue. Like
Mm,
it just sort of loses its effectiveness. Whereas in a virtual sense, when we think about VirBELA and the platform that we now own, you can be present, and you don't have the Zoom fatigue kick in. And it actually creates, again, those opportunities for, hey, let's step outside, let's go meet over at this private couch, let's have a
mm,
conversation after the meeting. It doesn't take any extra logistics to make all that stuff happen. You can just naturally go from place to place, from meeting to meeting, from conversation to conversation, and you can do it in a very fluid way that doesn't feel like it doesn't have the friction that a Zoom conversation or even a phone call would have. Whereas you pick up the phone, and we're busy. I mean, I don't know about you,
yeah.
but picking up the phone and trying to deal with the phone, and then the conversation that you're having in real life, and then trying to triage which one's more important. If you do it all in a virtual world, a lot of those elements start to drop away. You're able to have a quick little sidebar with somebody and go back in, or they're able to come in, add some context to the conversation you're having with somebody else because they see who you're meeting with. So it's just a different paradigm for remote work.
Interesting. Yeah, it's funny you say that, and I hadn't really thought about that, but you're absolutely right. You're not focused on, well, geez, am I looking okay on the camera? Am I looking in the right direction? Yeah. So there's a lot more that goes into doing these Zoom meetings, and to just being in there and being present with somebody.
Right. Well, you've got
And
your backdrop there. Is that a real backdrop or a
it's a green screen. It's a
green
Path to
screen?
Mastery is my pod. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So,
Yep.
we have to, in Zoom, you have to worry about, did I comb my hair the right way? In fact, when the camera came on,
My
I was like, my
hairs.
hair was like this. I'm like, oh, I gotta
Sure.
gotta straighten my hair out. And then, Debbie ended up. We have literally a condo right next door, connected. So Debbie ended up setting up this just recently because of all the Zoom meetings I've been on, especially with news media and others, just talking about what we're doing on the VirBELA side. And so we needed a place that actually looks semi-professional, because before I was working in my casita which was fine. It fit the bill. And if I was only doing a Zoom meeting once a month, not a big deal. But if I was going
Sure.
to be doing 2 or 3 a day, then all of a sudden I needed the right backdrop. I needed the right setting. I've got my extra light to sort of add the extra
Got it.
light on
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
side here, so there's just a lot more work that goes into actually doing these types of meetings on a regular basis versus just being present in a virtual world.
Yeah. No doubt. Well, let me ask you this. We started talking before we recorded, and one of the biggest objections I get with EXP, and I'm fairly new to EXP. I mean,
Right.
but I talk to people about it, and I was a team leader for almost 3 years,
Hmm.
and I frankly used the same kind of objection, I guess, when agents told me they were considering EXP is, hey, well, they're focusing on recruiting, and when you recruit, your business goes down, or or agents will say, well, I'm not interested in recruiting agents. I'm interested in making money, right?
Right.
So is that really common, and what would you say to those people?
Well, it can be. I think to some extent there's an element of value creation in the relationship that's built. So some people are going to be drawn to individuals because of of the fact that they know that being around these people is going to help their business. So of course we've got a lot of
Mm,
great leaders now in EXP, where just by being in the EXP ecosystem, you can't help but have your business go to the next level. I mean, last week we had 75 different breakouts on every single part of the business by some of the best in the business. They were all there helping you take your business to the next level. That doesn't happen in a physical office setting. You're typically trained by the best person in the office rather than the best person in the country.
mm,
And so, one of the things I look at is that in my mind, recruiting should be the third or fourth thing on the reason why somebody might even want to consider joining EXP. And we really, downplayed, even in the early days, the revenue share side of the business. The revenue share side is obviously, it can be very lucrative. Some people are doing really, really well with it.
Yeah.
But the way I think about it is when I was an agent at Prudential, which is where I started, and then I went on to be an agent at KW, and then I went and started my own boutique brokerage called Buyer Tours Realty. Um, People joined the brokerage because I was there. They didn't join because of the financial opportunities. They joined because they saw somebody who was dynamic, could help them potentially with their business, was willing to have conversations with them about what they were doing. And as a result, they were going, heck, if Glenn's there or if David's there, I want to be around those types of people because they're going to, just being around them is going to take my business to the next level. The other part is that, real estate does still have to be evaluated from an agent's perspective, on financial terms. And the financial terms include what's my cap, what's my split, what's the franchise fees, and then what do I get for that for the brokers that I'm associated with. So if you're associated with a brand and they provide you tons of support and they generate you lots of inbound leads, they do a bunch of stuff that makes you more money, well, of course, why not be there? But in most cases, most brokerages aren't really set up that way. You're effectively, coming in as a true independent contractor. You have to go and generate all of your own business. You have to go out and then you split that with the firm or whatever. And to a large extent, agents, and this was myself included back in the day, is like, I didn't really see the value I was getting from the shingle. The shingle wasn't doing anything extra for me. And so, eventually you start to go, okay, bottom line, as a business, does it make sense to keep my license here? Or does it make sense to go independent or look at other options? And I think you just, it's one of those things that, people may not want to quote unquote recruit, but at some point there'll be certain pain points that happen in their life where they recognize the value of equity, value of being around like-minded individuals, the value of up-leveling their thinking. And all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, I'm in. And by the way, over 60% of our agents don't recruit. Like EXP is not, it's, there's a few folks that they've made it their livelihood to attract and recruit agents. But the vast majority of our agents are in fact active, productive sales agents in the field, working with buyers and sellers, and helping people with the largest transactions of their lives. And even some of the ones that are focused there also generate additional, income and equity from, somebody they've done a cross sale with, coming over, somebody following them. Quite often, and you probably got this as well, is since you've joined, how many inbound phone calls have you taken from agents who know, like, and trust you that say, David, okay, I know you were maybe poo-pooing EXP in a former role, but you made the move. What's going on? What am I missing?
Yeah, dozens of those calls so far, and frankly, yeah, and messages from Facebook and everything else. So it's been really cool. Listen, I what you said is why I chose to partner with EXP, was to be in a network with some of those guys, those really high level people that I'm partnered with in the Thrive organization. So that's really exciting, because frankly, I was going to open my own brokerage. I was ready to leave where I was, and that was my plan, just to open an Indy and do that. But this just made a lot more sense to be part of that network and not be on an island by myself. Let me ask you this though: what would you say, like, going forward? What excites you most about these times, and with COVID and all the changes in tech going forward with EXP? What excites you the most?
Yeah, well, it's kind of one of those things. It's like you can't really say you're excited about COVID, right? Like
well, yeah, that's sure. Maybe I could have phrased that question better, but you get the point. I mean, yeah. Uh,
But one thing is when we launched the EXP in 2009, we launched it as an answer for us to deal with a very challenging housing market. And so at that point, and similar to today, the Federal Reserve had to step in. They had to increase the size of their balance sheet. They had to buy a bunch of mortgages. They had to, create an atmosphere where lower interest rates showed up to really kind of prop up the market. And had they not done that, and we were worried about it back then, I think the Fed figured out that the last time, even though it blew up our national debt, that for at least in the short run, it made more sense to take on some extra debt nationally to then allow things to thrive. But that may not always be the case. And so we sort of looked at it. We didn't know how long the housing market was going to quote unquote suck, which
mm,
was my technical term for a down market.
sure.
But we did want to make sure that whatever way we ran the business, that we could be profitable in good times and bad times. And so for us, we always, and we talked about this quite often, Jason Gessing, myself, Brian Colhane, number of folks internally, we talked about the fact that we would thrive in the next downturn. We didn't know when it was going to happen, but we
Mm,
knew that it would happen, and that we were we didn't use the term "we were built for this." That was somewhat coined by some of our EXP agent leaders, but we were prepared for pretty much whatever the economy threw at us, because we didn't have all of the fixed overhead expenses of a traditional brokerage. And so for us, we actually did look forward to a down market, not in the way that it's down at this point, but certainly some
sure.
sort of downturn. Interest rates might have went up. There may have been something systemic that happened in the economy, and we were actually looking forward to that, because we knew that we would be able to pick up significant market share, while the competitors were unfortunately losing market share, because we had an economic model that would work in good times and bad times.
Yeah, great point. My biggest surprise, honestly, coming over is the fact, like, I didn't come over for technology, yet when I plugged in and saw everything that was there, like, my wife's like, "You're like a little kid in a candy store," because I'm like a tech nerd, and with the KV core and the tools, and it's impressive, because for years, I mean, before I was a team leader, I was a top agent. I was in Gary's mastermind. I've always paid for Boomtown or something like that on the side, anywhere from 1,000 to sometimes 1,700, $1,800 a month. And
Right?
now I have those same tools without that extra expense. So that was just like a huge add-on bonus for me. You know, I mean, I wasn't even planning on talking about that today, but that's one of my, believe it or not, one of the most exciting things for me so far. So, that said, what would you say, or what question, like, agents listening to this right now, what questions should they be asking moving forward, regardless of where they are in their business?
Yeah, I would say that if you don't see yourself being a lifer where you're at, meaning that it isn't going to provide you a platform for your long-term success, then you need to plan for that. And I'm not saying that EXP has to be the answer for that, but I think we've designed it so that at least folks that are like myself, I was running a large team, but agents who are looking at being a top producer with technology, especially a technology-enabled brokerage, and then also making sure that the platform would scale with you. If you're ambitious, make sure that the company you're with can help you scale. And the answer might be to go indie, like you were considering doing before coming to EXP, or it might be coming to a company like EXP that can provide you a platform that'll allow you to scale your business to whatever level you want to take it to.
Mm,
One of the things that most people don't really even tap into this. I don't know if you really thought about this, but EXP is one company in all 50 states. And that's such a game changer for an entrepreneurial real estate professional, because you're no longer locked into any sort of geographic boundaries to the way that you scale your organization. You can
sure.
have agents and brokers who are working under your coaching, lead generation, training, support staff, the whole 9 yards, and you can literally do it pretty much anywhere EXP operates without any challenge to how do I get paid? Will I get paid on those referrals I sent out?
Yeah.
And so you can start to think about creative business models that would not be able to be done in any sort of traditional way. So I was just chatting earlier with Michael Valdez, who he's got a podcast coming out next week, and we were just talking about this whole idea that as one company, you could set up a
Mm.
relocation company. Just use that. Let's say that you were able to connect with a large enterprise with lots of employees that are spread out all over the country and multiple countries. Well, you don't have to put in the brokerage stack to actually support that. You don't have to go negotiate with team leaders and broker owners around the country to actually be able to service that market. You can just
Mm.
plug people in, and now you can start to actually co-create a new business that would have been hard to do in any other business model. So and so we're pretty unique. We're the largest real estate brokerage by geography. You would cover all 50 states, almost all the major MLSs in the country. We're in, I think there's probably a couple hundred that we're not in yet, but it's very few. We're pretty much in all of them. And so your ability to go and come up with unique creative ideas that, again, couldn't be supported through any other model. And I can only, if I was taking advantage of it, there's so many opportunities, and you can only take advantage of, 1, 2, or 3 opportunities at any given time. But for me, it like almost blows my brain up thinking about all the things people could do with this model, depending on
Mm.
how creative they wanted to be.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. And that was again part of the reason I joined, because I saw what those guys were up to and what they were building. And you're right, there's no boundaries. It's not like you're going to get hung up here because this person has a different idea of the way you should run your business in their region as opposed to this person over here in their territory. So I get that. Let me ask you this, and I want to thank you first for your time. I appreciate it. Um, what anything that I should have asked you that I didn't? What did I miss anything?
I have no idea. You
Okay.
can follow up if we missed something. We can do it on a
All
future
right.
episode,
Awesome.
right?
All right. Cool. Well, I just want to say thank you. And if I don't know if there's any final thought you want to put out to our listeners, or
No, well, it's great to meet you. I mean, we're now over 29,000 agents strong, so I don't get a chance to talk to everybody. And this is actually our first time actually talking, and it's right on your broadcast and podcast here. So that's pretty cool to be able to do that. But I think the one thing, and going back to our earlier comment, if you're an agent, you're looking at EXP, just realize that the things that we're putting in place are really to solve the problems that we had as agents. I was an active agent, ran a team, started a team-based brokerage, and when we launched EXP, it was really not from a broker owner perspective. It was 100% from an agent perspective of what would it need to look like for me as an agent to want to hang my license there and to scale my business there. And and if you actually take a look at it and you get it, you'll understand that EXP really is the platform for real estate. It is the place that you can build whatever you want, whether it be focusing on high end or luxury, or whether it be your first time homeowners or relocation, or any number of affinity
mm,
relationships that could be developed in the real estate space. You can do it on one platform, and that's a pretty powerful paradigm. So I think look at EXP. Even if it's not right now, at some point you're going to get an itch. Something's going to dawn on you, and then the light bulb will go off, and you'll understand why we think EXP is, as you mentioned, one of the most disruptive technology-based real estate brokerages out there.
well, sir, I'm certainly excited about it, and I just want to thank you for your time.
Awesome. Thanks, David.